The BART case, an IEEE whistleblowing ethics case. BART stands for Bay Area Rapid Transport. The story takes place mostly in the 1970s. The vision for BART was to be a modern high-tech rail system serving many communities along the San Francisco Bay, and it was planned to be fully automated. This was never done before. Usually humans read trackside signals and receive radio messages with instructions. The Automated Train Control System, or ATC, was going to involve sensors to determine the train's position and data from a control center to indicate the location and necessary speed of the trains. BART's consultant, PBTB, gave the task of designing the ACT, the automatic train control, to Westington House. There were three main players who became concerned about the lack of testing of some of the components of the ATC and lack of oversight. George Fang was a systems engineer in the BART maintenance section. After working on the ATC with the Westington House Computer Systems Group, he became increasingly doubtful about the success of it. He believed that there was not a good system for monitoring the creation of the ACT. Specifically, he believed that the PBTB basically gave the contractor, Westington House, the power to create their own protocols for testing and safety. This led to the interpretation by the bidders as a license to use the cheapest possible approach to the system design. That's basically what he's saying here. On top of this, the demand for a completely automated system was infeasible at the time. That's another quote. Max Blankenzie was a programmer and analyst and had similar concerns. He sent many memos to many levels of supervisors, trying to convince them BART wasn't properly addressing the serious problems in the system. Contacting the supervisors with these concerns, he was only met with vague responses and being labeled over and over again as a troublemaker. In BART's construction section, Robert Bruder, an electrical engineer monitoring various phases of the ACT, Robert grew increasingly uncomfortable with the unprofessional manner in which the installation and testing of the control and communication equipment was being supervised by, as well as the obviously unrealistic opening dates that the train was supposed to be released to the public. An individual told the three engineers that he could put them in contact with the directors to open a line of communication with their top management. So they contacted a member of the board of directors named Daniel Helix. The three engineers supplied Helix with backup materials. Helix was persuaded that actions needed to be taken. He started asking questions at engineering meetings. Then he gave the report to other members of the board. The Bay Area press picked up the story from board members, and the problem became public knowledge. This action was in direct conflict with the general manager of BART, whose policy was to only allow himself and a few others to communicate with the board of director members. At first, the three engineers denied their involvement, but eventually the identities of the whistleblowers became clear and they were given the option of quitting or being fired. The reason being for affiliations with Mr. Helix and Mr. Burfine, an outside consultant. The problem was it necessary for the engineers to blow the whistle? How much effort is required of an engineer to express their concerns when the management doesn't agree? What levels of supervision does an organization need to have over its contractors? Can they assume the contractors will do a good job? The aftermath. Information pointing to poor engineering was uncovered. A dramatic confirmation occurred on October 2nd, 1972, when a BART train overran the station in Fremont as a result of an ATC failure, and several passengers were injured. The three engineers sued, and they also received the first ever IEEE Boris Award for outstanding service in public interest. Many engineering organizations, including IEEE, asserted that each of the engineers had a professional duty to keep the safety of the public paramount, and that their actions were therefore justified. The solution. The engineers acted exactly as they should have. They were ethical because this was a serious public safety risk. Whistleblowing was necessary because of public safety. Multiple attempts have failed, and there was reasonable evidence that the management would not do anything. The three engineers sent memos and requested testing. Possible things they could have done was approach like a state regulator or consult an internal ethics office in BART, which may or may not have existed. As for supervising, relying solely on the contractor professionalism is not sufficient, especially for this very safety necessary project. So active oversight, mandatory documentation, and testing requirement should have happened, even though it didn't. These are my sources. Thank you. By both BART and PBTB.